In an old alley of Damascus where stone walls carry the memory of centuries, a Syrian restaurant owner began to notice an Iraqi stranger who visited his place every day. The man would enter quietly, order a single loaf of bread, eat half of it carefully, leave the other half on the table and walk away in silence. This scene repeated for 4 days until curiosity became heavier than silence. On the fifth day, the owner approached him and gently asked, "My guest, I see you eat half the bread and leave the rest. What is the reason?" The Iraqi man smiled with dignity and said, "I am a merchant from Baghdad. I have traveled many lands and found no people who honor the bond of bread and salt like the people of Damascus. So I ate half my bread and waited to find someone worthy of sharing the other half." The Syrian man sensed the nobility in his words and said, "Then today you are my guest." He took him to his home where his elderly mother lived, along with his orphan cousin, whom he had loved since childhood and was preparing to marry. When the Baghdadi entered the house and saw the young woman, he was struck by her beauty, modesty, and grace. After the meal, the Iraqi surprised his host with a heavy request. Swearing by the bread and salt between them, he asked for the hand of the cousin in marriage. The request fell on the Syrian's heart like a blow, yet he found himself facing a harsh test between love and honor. Choosing to preserve the bond, he sacrificed his heart and agreed. Soon a wedding was held and the Iraqi left for Baghdad, with his bride leaving the Syrian alone with his silence and pain. Years passed and life turned against the Syrian. His mother fell ill and passed away. His business declined. He sold his restaurant and spent all he had until he was left poor and alone. He remembered his Baghdadi friend, who had become one of the wealthiest men in Iraq, and traveled to Baghdad hoping for kindness. He arrived at the Grand Palace and asked to meet him. A servant disappeared for a long time, then returned carrying a bag full of gold, saying, "My master sends you his greetings and this gift." The Syrian's dignity burned with anger, thinking his old friend was avoiding him and trying to buy him with money. He threw the bag to the ground and left in tears, asking, "Is this how loyalty is repaid?" With the world closing in on him, he sought refuge in a mosque in Baghdad. There he met an elderly man who offered to teach him the principles of trade. The Syrian worked tirelessly for 3 years until he regained his wealth, became a respected merchant, and built a palace greater than his old friends. One day an old woman came asking for work as a servant, and he welcomed her with compassion. Later she suggested he marry an orphan girl she cared for. He agreed and a grand wedding was held, attended by the greatest merchants of Baghdad, among them the Baghdadi. When the Syrian saw him, he could not restrain himself and spoke bitterly about the past. The Baghdadi smiled calmly and revealed the truth. He said that when the Syrian came poor, he watched him from the balcony and did not want his wife to see him broken, so he sent the gold for him to restore his dignity. He revealed that the old man who taught him trade was his father, the old woman serving him was his mother, and the bride he was to marry was his sister. He explained that he had arranged everything so the Syrian could regain his honor through his own effort, and that he had come that day to attend the wedding of the most loyal man. He then took out half a loaf of bread and shared it, saying, "This is bread and salt, and it is not in our morals to throw a stone into a well we once drank from." The two men embraced, and the story remained as proof that kindness is never lost among the noble,